Welcome to the APL show. Amazing experts from all over the world with incredible insights. They've often been through some sort of transformative journey themselves, and they're here to provide service to the rest of us. We've had Super Soul Sunday authors who have, sat with Oprah and so on. We've got a White House physician to the U.S. president, the youngest Delta Force operator in the history of that unit, and many other healers with all sorts of modalities or backgrounds from around the globe joining us, international best-selling authors. Lynn McTaggart will be taping shortly on the show, and we're booked out to 2026. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you could like, subscribe, share, and comment, emojis count. We appreciate it. Today, coming to us from South Korea, Ian Matthews. I have the highest regard for him. He is well learned, as they say, when it comes to Zen and many other areas. He's all about mindfulness, wellness techniques, if it's MBSR, MBCT, MBOE, also on the technology side of things, which he'll get into at one point. But he can also talk to us about Alan Watts. I'm looking forward to that. I just wanted to mention, though, he went from military engineer, British Army, to now inner engineer, which is a great way to put it. And he's the consummate explorer, or you could say modern day, we'll say East Asian philosopher. Ian, welcome to Angels, Positivity, and Love. It's fantastic to see you again.
Peace and love to you as well, Michael. It's wonderful to see you again, and it's great to be here in front of this marvelous audience. It's just an honor. Thank you.
Where would you like to begin? How you began your inner journey and when it picked up? How about we start there?
Yeah, my inner journey, it was something I think that for many people, it either sort of boom and it happens for a big reason, or it sort of creeps in without you realizing it's always going to happen. It's kind of creeping in. I think mine was a boom. And I was just living an outstanding life with the British Army, and all prospects were good and everything else. I was serving in Germany, and I was playing hockey for the regiment. And this chap in the opposing team wasn't too clear about the rules of hockey, which is don't ever, when you're hitting, take the hockey stick above at least sort of shoulder height when you're hitting, especially when you're hitting hard. He had his own ideas, his own protocols, and he just went for this swack. He missed the ball, and his stick landed in my forehead. If you look close enough, you'll see a big scar. It lifted pretty much half of my scalp up here, and a river of blood started coming down. From that point there, let's just say, Michael, over the next few years, when I look back now, again, it wasn't apparent in the years that followed. I was waking up, and I think that big whack. There's easier ways to do it, and my meditation techniques will help you. It'll be less painful, I promise you, that we can discuss. But that I look back at that, and my life was never the same. I just became more conscious, drip, 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 more conscious on every step that I took and whatever I did, wherever I went.
Mm. Before we get into some of that again in the past, where are you today? What are you offering people today? And who have been some of the biggest influences on you along the way?
So what I'm doing now is my company ZenBOK, which stands for Zen Body of Knowledge. In other words, I'm trying to make sure people read the user guide, particularly on our mind, body, and emotions, how they work, because I was never taught at school. And we were thrown out there, weren't we? And then programmed and everything else. And we have to ride the waves of uncertainty, especially these days. So I was one of those people that found myself in quicksand and high flyer and all this kind of thing, lots of money, working in Weybridge, South London for Cisco Systems, etc., etc. And all of a sudden, this stresses were creeping up on me, and I didn't know that stress was the problem. You don't think it can make things happen inside of you that can be stress related, especially mind related, especially overthinking related. So I got into mindfulness, got taught by one of the best in the world, John Kabat-Zinn, with MBSR, and now I'm teaching that for corporates, the biggest in the world, people like Michelin, people like Unilever, Teradata. But I keep it simple because that's what was cathartic for me, Michael. You're on about influences. Thich Nhat Hanh was my biggest influence to begin with, because when I wasn't sure where to look and I'm looking outside of myself all the time, And then I learned very soon that it's about coming inside. But you have to start somewhere. So I was on the internet and Thich Nhat Hanh kept on popping up. And he was giving pretty much the same breathing exercises all the time. He didn't really explain them too much. And he didn't say do it. He was just there saying breathe like this. As simple things like an exercise here we can all go through now. You don't have to be in any particular position, just sit comfortably. Bring your attention really to your nostrils as the breath's coming in and out. And as you breathe in, just in your mind, to yourself in your mind, say, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Do that a few times on the in breath. And when you're ready, shift it or switch it to the out breath. Focus on the out breath, air coming out of your nostrils. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. And this might sound ridiculously and seem ridiculously simple and not so powerful. It's not the case. And I've learned ever since, especially about the inner engineering, what's really going on inside of us. And I use kind of embodied coaching now with corporates and with people one-on-one. I can coach people like this online. And soon we'll have a digital wellness platform as well. So I want everyone to have access of these techniques that have been around for ancient years by people and spiritual leaders and people like me and you who realize that the natural holistic way is the best way, using the resources that we have. We don't need anything else. And the only side effects are too much love, too much wisdom, and too much joy.
I love it. Can you share with us a little bit of your part of your life journey, but let's say you were traveling, you're in a city. Can you give us some very specific moments that were pivotal, or you found yourself in an unexpected place?
Yeah. There's one city which is very close to my heart now, and the city is called Chiang Mai, which is in northern Thailand. I have been all over the world. I've worked all over the world in the corporate world. I've worked over the world with the military. I've lots of friends, lots of connections, and you're always looking, Lonely Planet, where can I go next? And never, never, never did I, a few years ago, ever hear the words Chiang Mai. And through a mindfulness seminar that I was giving one time, a chap sort of went in the chat box and said, Ian, can I talk to you at the end of this? Can we swap? And I was absolutely. And cut a long story short, he said, Ian, I really enjoyed your work. Thank you so much. Have you been to Chiang Mai? Because I'm there. And I said, no, where's that? It's in northern Thailand, like I said. Put it this way, Michael. Wherever we're living, again, we're subjected, or flip that, where we are lucky to be challenged all the time, which helps us to learn and grow, helps us to consciously evolve through the challenges of everyday people, places, and things, or the voices in our own head. He said, come to Chiang Mai. As soon as I landed, and our audience will understand, you especially, Michael. As soon as I landed, something was shifting. What on earth? It's a very straightforward place. It's a very easygoing place, and simple as you land. All you see are smiles, genuine eye. What's called the Duchenne smile. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's been studied. A famous French philosopher used this Duchenne smile to measure a real, authentic smile that's coming from the mouth, is coming from the eyes, lifting the cheeks. And you see it all the time. After about a week there, I was thinking, there's something different about this place. My energy levels whoosh. My personal meanness, my ego dropping, melting off the floor. But I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't trying to meet or connect. It was just happening because the energy is there. It is a deeply historical and ancient Buddhist practicing region of Thailand, but you wouldn't know it. You'll see it all over, but you don't know it because nobody pushes it on you. They do it in their daily interactions. It's true mindfulness as a daily life. After 2 weeks, and these huge beaming spots. I couldn't stop myself. I was Duchenning everywhere. That's my favorite place. That's my favorite place. And it's so inspiring. It's where I always return. I'm lucky I'm going back there in the new year to do 3 months of work, to work with collaborators in Hangdong there, a company called Neurovisor that are doing wellness technology, which is using light sensitive devices, fully again, 100% natural and real, to meditate you. So people who don't have time to meditate, don't want to, or it's never worked for them, the light show comes in through your eyes and meditates you. This is where we're going with all this. It's amazing.
I love it. Um, I wanted to do one quote. It's going to be a Gary Zukav quote, and then let you go and take it from there. You change the way that you shape the light, which is flowing through you by changing your consciousness. And that's Gary Zukav's Seed of the Soul. You change the way that you shape the light, which is flowing through you by changing your consciousness. And I mean, I feel like that's Thich Nhat Hanh as well. What say you?
Yeah, you're matching yourself to the what did you call it? The galaxy. You're matching yourself to universal intelligence. That's what he's talking about. And he's talking about the light, which is the pure source of all being. You can call it awareness, you can call that consciousness too. And the way you do that is by the only way you can do that is matching and resonating yourself. When you align yourself, especially between your hara, which is the breathing center below the abdomen, and the heart and the brain, and my tools do all that with my MARVA method, my MARVA technologies, using ways that Thich Nhat Hanh described and lots of other people that I've adapted now. I adapt mindfulness, I adapt polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges. I've tested and tried and failed, tried and tried, and then boom, all of a sudden you gain resonance, you tune yourself up, Michael. So my tools are like a tuning fork. I go boom like this now, and then the people do the breathing, they do the body relaxation, they do a little bit of meditation, and then you're tuned. As soon as you do that, you're then coherent with the universe, and then you're sitting in the consciousness that you, I, everyone, every living being, every non-living being as well, actually, everything in the universe, everything is, we are it. We are consciousness, but you have to do the work first, especially in this modern day. You must do the tuning and the resonance yourself. People that I collaborate with, like Dr. Jeffrey Thompson from the Sky Collective, he's been on the Gaia show, the healing program that you can see if you tune into Gaia. You'll see Dr. Jeffrey Thompson there. He talks about resonance. Once you tune up, especially your heartstrings, just like a guitar, then you're getting in flow, in frequency yourself, and automatically, again, after that, you don't have to do anything. You're in tune with everything that you always were and everything that you are, and that's conscious evolution. I love that book by Gary Zukav, by the way, one of my favorites, Seat of the Soul. I believe that's what he's talking about.
Well, I'm going to ask you to take three authors or experts from the past and then run with something that you've just absolutely enjoyed as one of their teachings. I'll do the first one for you. Alan Watts, if you could pick something from his repertoire and share it with us, and then you get to pick the next teacher or instructor.
Alan Watts, I mean, just people use the word genius a little bit too often, I believe. A real genius, a 17-year-old who went to London because he'd been studying, the books on Zazen. There he is, studying passionately, easily, effortlessly. And so he tells his parents, and they were free thinking people themselves. He said, Mom, Dad, I'm off to London. And they went, okay. And so he's walking around London, and he walked past this, what looked like the Buddhist society. It was a gentleman's club, for the high class and all that. He walks in there and he said, hi, I'm Alan Watts. Any chance of me joining the club? And this highbrow sort of gentleman, luckily a conscious gentleman, said, a little bit too young, young fellow. What do you do? And he said, well, I study Zen, and I'm soon going over there to live there and work there and teach to the whole world. And this guy was just very impressed, probably his aura, I guess, and said, what would you like to do? And he said, can I give a presentation to your people? To He was like, oh my goodness, I'll get into trouble if I let you on, but I don't know why I'm going to do it. So he stands up in front of this in this big auditorium, all of these learned people and everything else, and they're like, what's going on here? Who's this youngster? He's too young, and he started talking, and he captivated them because he captivated them, I think, because immediately it was understandable that he had a deep, deep knowledge, but he was able to express it in simple terms so that people can use it immediately in their lives. And he was coming through little tools, or he was saying koans, he was simple expressions. And one of my favorites is this, because we're all searching, or have been searching for something, aren't we? And we're not quite sure what that is. It's the missing thing in our lives. No matter how rich, poor, happy, sad we are, we feel there's a hole. There's something missing, and we tend to look for things outside of ourselves, our gods, our escapism, substances, whatever. And he just stood there in front of all these people, and he said, "Listen, just sit still. In the Zazen way, just be still and just know this: if you've got a task to do and you want to practice Zen, and you're peeling the potatoes and you're thinking about God and what's God to me and how can he, this is not the way. The way is to drop the thinking about God and peel the potatoes. Be there in that moment, peeling the potatoes 100%. That is Zen. And everyone stood up, raucous applause, and he was invited to speak there as a life member from that point on.
Hmm. I love it. Um, who would you like to pick?
It moves, it shifts as life does. Everything is in flux, isn't it? At the moment, for what I'm doing with my teaching, to try and put a cherry on my cake, and he's a bit like Marmite. You either love him or hate him. That Marmite spread, I don't know if you have that on toast. My favorite thing. Um, is Muji, a guy called Muji, who's a Jamaican chap who lived in the UK in Brixton. Amazing area, Brixton, if anyone wants to go to a really multicultural, diverse, amazing part of London and have just incredible experiences just on the street, meeting people everywhere you walk. So Mooji, Moogi, he is teaching the Advaita tradition. There he is. Hello, Mooj. He'll hate me for saying that, but anyway. So he teaches what is known as the Advaita tradition, and closely linked to everything all good about, Sanskrit, etc. But he does it in such a simple way. And his thing is this, Michael. What he's saying is the days of us having spent hours and hours and hours and hours of practicing, it's not necessary. Those days were useful at the time, and a lot of people were using this. You've got to come back, come into the Sangha, have the Dharma, practice, and don't expect anything or transformation for a long time, da 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 da. And he's like, no, if we are it, if we are consciousness, surely it should only take a microsecond. And that is, and how do you do that? Well, again, you're sitting still and you just sit and put your mind to the side, or you get a bit of a distance from yourself and the mind. And then you try and then do, again, these resonance techniques, and then the self drops away as well. And you're just sitting in what you always are, what you always have been, and what you always will be, which is pure presence and which is pure being. And that's his teachings. And I love his teachings.
I love it. Before we do a third, why don't we play for just a short, very short bit? But I'll bring in Thich Nhat Hanh at some point. I'll blow you sage, and we'll take a few steps together. I'm just looking for Thich Nhat Hanh's photo, and I have it right here. But for folks at home, if you haven't watched the show before, we blow lit sage. You can catch it wherever you are in the world. No limits, sort of like what Muji talks about, split second. You have no limits, just be in your heart, but maybe set your intent. Ask the universe, angels, your favorite loving figures to come in and help your schnoggin do its job, or your heart. You're doing smelling without smelling, the Zen thing. So I'm in Texas, you're in South Korea, and I'm lighting a little bit of California sage to just kind of almost cut it in the middle, sort of. And some people start tasting it when I light it, but why settle for just linear sage when you can have a triple tier tiramisu, no calories. So catch sage. And when you do catch the sage, close your eyes. And anybody who wants to turn up the volume, breathe through the mouth, just 1 millimeter, let your shoulders go up and down at the very least. Pump those bellows. But when you're ready, ask for flowers you haven't had in a long time from your home country or your favorite place. If you want to see an ocean, and hear the palm fronds and the wave action, do it and start to smell it. I'll blow Hawaii to anybody who wants Hawaii. My microphone's down below. I'll look funny doing it, but that's okay. And Alan, are you getting your sage, your flowers, and even a touch of Maui Wowie Hawaii?
Absolutely loving that, Michael. Absolutely
Okay.
loving it.
And I'll
Thank
show
you.
my energy for 30 seconds, ask for extra light. I'll put up one photo of one angel, but we'll have Thich Nhat Hanh say something about no limits, and we'll do a little Muji. When you touch the photo of the angel through two screens, pink light, her name is Joy, you can see pink light on your finger, or at least get ripples of whatever you want to call it, Shakti, Prana, Shaktipat, catch an explosion of intersection. But first, a quick dad joke. I'll just put my fingers up. People can see light between my fingers. It's from Celestine Prophecy. Exactly. Celestine Prophecy, but I had another guest on from the 70s who was like, hey, we were doing this back in the 70s before the movie existed. In India, they do it this way. Not everybody does it, but India is a big place. But like I'd guess 1 out of 40 people. So, quick dad joke. What's the only flower found on the human face? Give yourself permission to let go. See with your heart. Do the seeing without seeing Zen thing. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. And
Go
then
on.
see a filament of light between my fingers. Ian, what are you seeing between my fingers for light?
Yeah, what I'm seeing is the happening, which is the potentiality of what we are. It's kind of a smudgy light, like a stringy effect, quantum stringy effect between your fingers.
Does it have a color or is it clear?
It's very sort of dimmed down white light.
Perfect. And now if you'd ask the universe, Thich Nhat Hanh, Alan Watts, and everybody to kick it into gear, including Muji's favorite guides and your favorite guides, ask them to make something extra that you know is not my light. It's sparks, it's fireworks, it's geometric patterns. People have gotten phoenixes. What are you getting now?
Yeah, between the fingers now, there's electricity.
Good enough.
Absolutely.
Okay, last very bit before we get back to serious discussion. Hear from Thich Nhat Hanh how much you've got this. He'll give you even a personal experience that you can have. And I'll put up an angel named Joy is very cosmic. We limit her very much just because, she's joy. So she's everywhere and everything. When Big Mary said, love is everywhere, love is a constant, open your eyes to find love, in a way, she was kind of talking about joy. Here's joy. Get something private, get an answer, get a hug. And then the last very bit before we get back to serious discussion is here you've got this from her and say, got it when you did. Hear her.
Got it. I've got
Good.
it already.
And then this is ridiculous. I don't think we've ever actually done this on a show, but you're good with this. Put your finger out and at least touch her light. She'll lend you all the consciousness, pink light in the world. Breathe through your mouth. Pump those bellows on the shoulders. And you can make a heart in the air. You can have the prana shakti start to pass ripple through you some way. I got concentric light sounds that are coming your way via Thich Nhat Hanh and her. You're going to get tag teams somehow. I have no idea what. That's out of my bailey. That's past my bailiwick. What are you getting? What do you experience that you can share?
No, it's very deep. It's actually going right into the depths of my neurology, if I'm honest with you. And I think over time, what's going to happen is I'll be projecting that every time I blink. I'll be seeing joy and the little wake and everything else, knowing that she's there, probably with Thich Nhat Hanh in the background, just clapping.
And speaking of Thich Nhat Hanh, what is one of your favorite parts about what he offers us all?
Thich Nhat Hanh, his message is universal. It's for everyone. Every living being um, who is capable of thinking. And the message is this: in our present time, in our current days, stop running, stop running. And what he means by that, it's a metaphor analogy for our mind, our overthinking mind, which is racing, and it's racing in the most dangerous way and destructive way, because we're not even aware that our minds are racing. We don't. Most of us aren't taught how to observe our minds. We're not to blame for that, um, and we're programmed to use our mind to analyze and solve problems and get to the next step, always the next step, the next, achieve, do. Thich Nhat Hanh is about being, and that I say other dimension, the main dimension of being human, the root of everything that we are, which is being, pure being, and we must use the mind, not let the mind use us. And the way to do that is to stop running and use meditations, breathing, moving meditations, where we are able to make that distance. And you start with your breath, because the breath is the bridge between the conscious, our awakened side, and the unconscious, where we can notice that the mind is going like the clappers. And by starting with our breathing, we can come back to the present moment, and we can make that space to then observe our mind. Just by doing that. So you don't go to the mind and attack it and say, please stop. Oh, come on, when's it going to happen? You just follow your breathing, for example, with my MARVA meditations, and watch the rhythm of the breath. And that rhythm of breathing, even by itself, if you're paying attention to that, so you're paying attention to something that you really want to pay attention to, by downstream, even within a few seconds or minutes, the mind will quieten. The mind will quieten, the nervous system calms down, and you get back into resonance or alignment. So that's what he means by stop running. He's an amazing chap, and he's so busy, he doesn't have the time to explain all this. He knows it all. But stop running. We are taught, our ancestors, our parents, we're all running, aren't we? Come on, especially over here in Korea, the favorite expression is bali, bali, bali. That means hurry up. They say it all the time. They're not to blame. They were taught to do this to get themselves out of poverty in the sort of 50s and stuff like that. But a new dimension is needed across the world, let alone over here in South Korea, where I'm teaching people and companies. Stop running. So in other words, do the practices to stop the racing mind, come back to the present moment. Just do that. That's the practice. That's enough. Get started with the right tools. And Thich Nhat Hanh, if it's not through me and you prefer people, with the credibility and the presence, and his heartfelt energy of watching a Thich Nhat Hanh video or listening to his videos, reading his books, then I commend it to you. I commend it to you.
Um, got a point behind this in a second, but if you want to put your hand up and just feel what you can feel in South Korea, I'm in Texas. If you have an adjective for the energy you're feeling, I'm just going to blow a little Hawaii in. We're going to blame angels for this, or the universe, consciousness. What's an adjective or adjectives you'd like to use right now? What are you feeling?
Love, love, love.
Good enough. And then the question sort of is going to be double fold here. In South Korea, it could be the parents, it could be the grandparents, and the little kids. They're generally taught the clapping and mimicking and reinforcing what you just described. It's not going to be as common to have a grandparent on the other side of the room put their hand up and they start to feel the love, or breathing exercises at age 4, 5, 6. With that, talk to us a little bit about what you're offering a person who just comes in and says, I like the way Ian's talking, I'm feeling it. They want to get in touch. What's a great way for them to reach out and get started with you?
As you know, Michael, when you're supported by this universal intelligence, by consciousness, and people call it God, presence and awareness, you're able to trust in that. And what's happened is, as I've been able to pivot, particularly from the days of COVID, into now a company, ZenBOK, with partners that were my dream partners many years ago, that they're now my real partners. We're all in the same sort of line, if you like, where it's about learning to have a better relationship, especially with your mind. If we all do that and start off with that, then we'll build better global minds, around the universe. And through my website, ZenBOK, ZenBOK.org, you can contact me there very soon through lots of collaborations. Again, Neurovisor in Hangdong, through Sky Collective in California, through Mark Leonard, the founder of the Oxford Mindfulness Center. Now I'm amazed to he offered to teach me personally, to be a collaborator on his MBOE, which is for corporate companies, to train corporate companies. The nickname for that, or tagline for that, is social mindfulness. All of that you can find out about, but it's also for my big push in 2025 is I want to give it to an access to everyone. I don't want it to necessarily always be through, companies or even through communities. I want it to be where you can find tools and technologies, and particularly this MARVA method, or the MARVA miracle, as it's called. People are calling it. So you'll find through my website, all the social media links and stuff like that. I don't kick the proverbial arse out of it. Excuse the expression. It's just enough to show you where to start and the right tools to use. Please find my website and you'll see what I'm up to. And it would be an honor, even just to have a chat to you. Drop me a line, and I promise you I'll get back.
And before we ask an eternal question, so big one's coming in a second, can we revisit the grandparents in the room with the child? In many cultures, it's again rigorous but repetition and meant to almost get you locked into here, not here. Can you talk about either how this is changing, how kids are our greatest opportunity, the newer generations coming up in a way? They're ready to openness, they're already there. What do you have to say about that dynamic?
Yeah, I'll again, it's universal, but I will definitely keep it, because I'm been living and working off and on between here and Europe. My family are from Europe and UK. My home city is Oxford, and so that's where the mindfulness thing really kicked off there. And immediately they started teaching to schools. They understand that, especially from the ages of 7, we're sponges, aren't we? And that can be used in a not so cool way and in a cool way. So mindfulness was being taught in all the schools and colleges, and in the universities there too, by people, amazing people like Mark Leonard, and check him out on the internet if you can. His book, MBOE, Social Mindfulness. You asked me about my favorite book. I won't even explain that. It will cause shifts to happen in you, especially if you're someone that is looking for ways to understand your own behavior and then in relation to others, because what we are is always in relation to others and then the environment. We're not a silo, whether we like it or not, whether our mind tries to tell us that. Again, we're all interdependent and connected. So his book will take you through that. Over here in Korea, I've been teaching in schools. I've been teaching in colleges, and I'm teaching in universities and in companies. And I started in the schools. There was one in Busan. Busan is in the south of Korea. I was invited to do, a semester there, if you like. And I walked into the classroom, and the teacher was like, "Oh, you're Ian, are you, Mr. Ian? What are you going to do with this lot?" And it's, of course, 7, 8, 9 year olds running around and da 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 and dancing and everything else. And she said, "Good luck," and walked out. And I didn't see her again for, I think, about a week, something like that. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't speak much Korean. I still don't. It doesn't seem to want to match in my brain, but it doesn't matter. Probably a good thing, because I just, again, I'm an embodiment coach more than anything, and so I just started moving a bit slower, because when you move slower around a room, because everyone's normally like this, especially in Korea, bali bali, right? Hurry up. I started walking around. I wasn't saying anything. I was letting them do what they want to do, and I was just walking up and down mindfully. And what happens is the vibration of you going slower will, whether people like it or not, or kids, cause their faster vibrations it attracts to the slower vibration, doesn't work the other way around. So when you slow down in thought, in action, or movement, they started responding. I didn't have to do anything. And then they suddenly started sitting down and in their desk. And before I knew it, they were just sat there watching me. And I won't go through the whole thing, but to cut a long story short, I taught them the 4-7-8 breath. And I put my hands up in this triangle picture like that. And I said, just say, oh, please, Yorobun, everyone, up with their hands. And they went like this. And the practice is about making people breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8, and then return. And you keep on doing that. I taught them this over a week. It didn't take long because I've got their attention, right? And again, their racing mind has now stopped because I'm focusing both on an image and their breathing. A week later, the headmistress came back in and she went, da, 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 da. Oh, Mr. Ian, what did you do? You know, as if I'd hypnotize them or something, you know. And I said, oh, we just did the 4-7-8, didn't we? And everyone was like, yeah, nay, way. And that's it. And that's what I'm doing. Because yes, we must start with the children. There's no other future apart from our children. They're so innocent. If we're going to get them to realize that their mind is such a powerful thing, and of course they have to learn the stuff of civilization and how to work and live and blah, blah. But what about the other dimension? Again, not just doing, the being side. And the being side isn't woo-woo gooey stuff at all. It's how to be a fully functional human being and sit in the present moment. And it starts with the breath and it starts with our kids. So thanks for the question, Michael. You're so right.
I love that. I wonder what the Korean word is for sunrise and saying sunrise, sunrise, sunrise. And I
Yeah,
can't wait for
yeah.
the future leading minds of the globe to become the future leading hearts of the globe. Uh,
I
I'll
love it.
switch this to India. If there's anything you'd like to talk about India, but I have a quote that I believe is from India. I'm not going to be sure who I can attribute it to. And I'll do a second quote as well. But the first one's a very classic one. A mind that is fast is sick. A mind that is slow is sound. A mind that is still is divine. And then one more quote. We'll get your reaction to the quotes first before going to India. And there's still an eternal question coming. So we need to roll our sleeves up on that one. Here's one from Siddha Katrapa. Don't know the year. Can't tell you much more than that. But I've been sitting with it for 15 years, not understanding non-duality till about 2010 when I at least got the definition straight. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction, and realization that all he sees is unborn. That is the most excellent guru. Innocence is the way to realize non-duality, for here the effects of virtue and vice are one.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So healing in itself, Michael. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's healing within itself.
India, have you been? And what's your impression or an experience from there, or at least somebody from India?
Yeah, one of my favorite gurus is Sadhguru. I'm sure people here know him. Again, I'll let him speak for himself. And so SADH Guru, check him out. There's not many words that can say to describe him. He's very relevant for modern times. Very worth exploring to see if he suits you and resonates with you in your own quest, your own well-being journey. India, I haven't actually been there to live or work, but I do, of course, a lot of studying of the Indian philosophies, Advaita amongst them. And I know people that work in India, have wellness retreats, things like that. I've been invited many times actually to do some teachings there. Maybe you're prompting me to remind me to get out there and do it. What I do is a lot of teaching with the Indian people, especially again in the workplace, because through a company called Wellness Coaches, which is again another online software platform that I'm accredited and licensed to use, they source clients for me, particularly in areas of stress, anxiety, and burnout. And I give either one-to-one coachings through these mediums, or even just through the phone. They can book me through Wellness Coaches, and then whatever their their issue or topic they need me to take them through as a typically a 30-minute or a 1 hour presentation of embodied coaching, then it helps them to get back on track. And typically, again, what I'm seeing, especially in the last 10 years, which I wasn't seeing in the previous 10 years of my working life, stress, anxiety, and in particular burnout is prevalent. There's a stress epidemic, and burnout is causing their mind and their heart and their breathing system to be completely what I call out of whack. It's dysregulated. It's a maladaptive stress response, and which is causing their minds to race, which then again is reflected emotionally in their body, which is then physical tension, feeds back to the mind. It's a vicious cycle all the time. No one knows that it's happening inside them because they're not observing their mind. They haven't been taught how to. So it's non-stop every day. And their nervous systems are on all the time in what's called fight or flight, sympathetic arousal. That's a great system. Stress is not a bad system. It's meant to be in stress, fight off any danger, and then it'll automatically kick back into the parasympathetic or relaxation response. But our nervous systems aren't, especially in India, which for me was a shock, to be honest, because again, meditation philosophies pretty much originated in that part of the world. But now that's been overtaken by modern civilization, doing again. So all these people I'm teaching in India need it. And we're forgetting that even though past generations, our ancestors were doing the wisdom traditions and the practices of breathwork, movement, and meditation, the new generations just aren't. And then they're not going to be taught this. Their method of reference of anything in the world is their phone, isn't it? And it's the last thing they're going to be taught. And if they're then getting stressed and anxious, they'll be typing it into the Google and everything else, asking their friends and getting a million different ways to try and fix themselves. And I'm saying to these people that you don't need fixing. You're not broken. You're just out of tune. Woo! Okay, I've got the tuning forks, the little practices for you. After this webinar, get in touch with me on my website or email, and we'll get you back. We'll tune you back in. From there, everything is up to you, you know? Don't worry about anything. You, first and foremost, stabilize yourself. Please get your mind and heart in coherence. Get the breathing right. We start there. Everything else will work from there. You'll turn your life around. So India, again, you don't have to go to the mountaintop anymore. You really don't. And I would recommend anyone to go to these places like Chiang Mai or whatever. But please realize it's all within you. It starts within you first, okay? So it's not about going to, Alan Watts said this, by the way, Michael. It's not about going to the mountaintop, to practice Zen. It's about taking the Zen with you. So stabilize first, practice first.
And I'll hold up Thich Nhat Hanh in case there's a trip for Vietnam, India, or something else in the works. Just say got it when you got it.
Got it. Thank you.
We have no idea what that is, but that's why you're coming back on future shows. Now, the eternal question they've been asking in T. Casbah spots at the table for thousands of years, but we'll ask it in a funny way and let you answer it any which way you want. Is beingness, suchness, love the fabric of the universe? Is it A, all the above, or any one of those, or D, I'll leave you C wide open, D, all the above plus extra extrapolation? What's the answer to the eternal question? What is the fabric of the universe?
The fabric of the universe is now. This very present moment. You are now. I am now. Everyone watching this is now. Everything is now. Whatever our mind wants to concoct as a story outside of that, we're just now. Beingness is suchness. It is suchness, one and the same thing, which is love. And forget about D. That's enough, because that's all we are. We are it.
I have two quotes from Chogyam Trungpa that he said in 2014, even though he passed away in 1987 or 88. So it's from the other side. No way I made this stuff up, but enjoy. And we'll get your reaction if we could. Taking one breath, is like taking one step. Both bring peace and harmony. And then the way to experience nowness is to realize that this very moment, this very point in life is always the occasion. And I have for you a very young Chogyam Trungpa to add privately something to you. And then if we can get you going in any direction, especially if it was another trip, an experience somewhere, you were listening to Thich Nhat Hanh in person or someone else, here's Chogyam Trungpa, Tibetan Buddhist monk. If you wish to close your eyes and get a Tibetan wheel or some sort of symbology, the sand that mandala then moves, or a wind that is a mountain in Tibet, or ZG, catch glinting brilliance, or all the above. You can have all three. Sand mandala on the top of a mountain with a breeze wiping out the sand, and ZG brilliance.
Very much. Thank you very much.
But what's a new reminder for us all, even though we've covered everything but humans, but
humans are called human beings. Remember about the being. Don't just be human, be a human being. And the way to do that is to practice stillness.
and a passage for you. This is Angels, probably 2014 or so. Why is being the key to all of this? Being is believing in all. You do not need to be like anyone else, be you. Smile more, think less. Do not permit others to dictate your well-being. Own your own being and life. Love more and allow more. You can be happy now in this very moment without a single reason. Again, this is why it's not about words or concepts, which are often just another form of egoic thinking. Always keep releasing so as to not allow walls to rebuild ego. What to release exactly is never that important. Those are mere details. Keep releasing. Ego likes to judge everything and build walls. Ego likes to offer knowing as a form of false security. Step away from this and return to a peaceful life. Follow your path in life one step at a time. Enjoy it. We're going to flip that pancake a little. How are you doing reminders? How are you doing following one step at a time in your life? How are you allowing everything to unfold as it is? And how do you know?
So I use the Thich Nhat Hanh technique, mindfulness technique. And again, that starts with his stop running. If you look on the internet, by the way, and just type in anyone, stop running by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he'll discuss his samatha technique, which is between stopping and insight. It's like to free yourself. Let's imagine that you're a seagull and you've got two wings, the two wings of freedom to break the chains of our programmed conditioning and ego. You must stop. There's the one wing. That's not enough because otherwise you're just going to go around in circles. So the other, the other wing is the insight. You need to look inside, and that starts with the practice, like I say, that you can get off Thich Nhat Hanh himself, and it's the one that he mentions. He does mention in a couple of the other books and on the internet there. You literally take it's mindful walking, really, which is it can be a formal or informal practice. You can do it anywhere, and I do it anywhere, and I do it all the time. Every time I take a step, I say first step is I, and the second step is have, and the third step is arrived. Arrived to what? The present moment. And you can do that one cycle and then have a little bit of a break, and then say it again a few moments or a minute or so later. Maybe do that 3 or 4 times in that time, wherever you're walking. It can be in your house. I was doing it this morning on the way to the bathroom. It can be in a little garden. It can be in your corporate office. It can be on the way to the tubeway, to the subway station. I have arrived. So every time you take a step, and you're going slowly, have, arrived. Manage your expectations is my best advice. Don't expect anything to happen. Remember, it's always downstream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So to bring yourself out of the dream and back to the present moment, I have arrived. And when you're in that present moment and you've turned off your mind, you've relaxed and you're floating downstream there, you're pure being. You are pure being, and there's nothing you need to do. Just be.
Can we get off the map a little bit in that you have a reaction that's wonderful? It could be an oh my, fantastic, fantastiche, if we want to do another language, something. But hear what the reaction just might be. We don't need to know how you're going to get there just yet. And you can ask Joy and Charlotte. Here are two angels. Anybody can put their hands up, feel their vibe. Ask for a hug, feel vibration, feel warmth, smell flowers. No limits is no limits. But I'm going to put up a photo of Buddha. I was walking through a department store, and I'll go ahead and throw myself under the bus, but I was walking through a department store for years, a little worried about meeting Buddha. I'd heard he was coming. And he's one of the non-corporeal, he's more like, he is a little corporeal, 18 to 35 years old, golden light figure when you go to full C. But hanging over the book section of an American department store is a cardboard sign from the ceiling. And this is how Buddha came to me the first time, and I handled it like a champ. Had it been a really golden apparition figure, I probably would have run out of the place. But here's a more serious version. If you would allow for the smell of the Vietnamese temple, the incense, with the musical metal things in the wind that make sound, plus extra chanting or something, whatever you can allow for, but something that, again, concentric circles of light with words that leave you with an oh my, that was splendid, something out loud that's an acknowledgement. Here's Buddha, and if you don't mind on this one, putting a hand up to feel three screens here, like you're feeling a fireplace, but hopefully warmth or your whole body. If you want to catch orange, golden flecks of light around you in the air, you won't have to vacuum later.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
And then if you don't mind sharing that one, if it's okay.
Yeah. So that moment which you've just induced, thousands of miles away, supposedly, Michael, right? But we're not, are we? Clearly, and you've just induced that in my psychophysiology. And it was a moment where I lived and worked in Dublin. I have ancestral history in Ireland and my proud passion, which is Scottish ancestry as well. And I went into this shop and they had all of the, like you say, the chimes and everything else. And I think there was Vietnamese music going on there. And this chap, very unassuming, who just sat behind there, didn't have to say hello or anything like that. He didn't do anything. So I walked in there, but straight away again, I just felt a shift. There was an energy going on, whatever. And without realizing, I had been shifted into the present moment by everything he had there, the music, the incense, the chimes. So it was like he was my tuning fork. And back then I was starting to practice mindfulness and study and teach and learn from the best and everything else. But words aren't enough. Reading is not enough. It's not about concepts. It's about the direct experience. This is crucial. And so he gave me, and I hadn't, well, of course, it was obviously meant to happen, and it was part of my learnings and waking up. And I walked in there, and I didn't know what had happened. I just know I just felt wonderful. And, for that famous phrase, for no apparent reason. What he'd done, Michael, is he'd put me into my Buddha nature, and Buddha nature is being. Our true Buddha nature, yours, mine, everyone's, is being. It's the present moment, consciousness, awareness, suchness. And so he had shifted, he'd done it for me like a remote control. And that's what I do with people almost with my MARVA. I'm like their remote control because it's in you. You are it anyway. What you must do is find ways to, when you've tuned up, you're getting what you are not out of the way. You're getting what you are not out of the way. It'll melt eventually. And then what you're left with, I don't know if that's the right expression, what you return to wholeness, and that wellspring will come through given the right conditions and direct experience, such as the one that I've just shared. And thank you for reminding me again, because I've now got alchemy going on inside me because I used to go back there a lot as a little doggy in Josephine. When you pay the guy, he would go, Josephine, and I'm like, who's Josephine? And then all of a sudden the little doggy would come round and on the floor and like, oh, hello. Like that, waiting for, and you put the euros in Josephine's mouth, and she'd take it back. Joy, just joy.
Oh, I love that. You're going to get hit six different ways with words, but also a couple pictures, maybe some energy or dimensional exercise. I don't know. But if we could evoke one more memory before we begin to close this out a little bit, um, I'm going to do a separate passage from a book written by angels. I saw balls of light as I typed. If anybody thinks I wrote this, you're awesome. And anybody out there thinks I wrote this, you're invited on the show. Here it goes. Why is this a big deal for an individual again? The whole concept of letting go, being more love, show love always. When no ego is present, your heart and soul shine through your eyes. You are love, you sparkle. You are one with all and at peace with all. You are whole and content. Listening is opening the line of communication available to each human. Merely be still and listen. Acknowledge and own the step. Move forward today, just do it. This is a bit like a classic treasure hunt, but here you get to find yourself since you are the treasure. Do nothing, be, listen, learn, appreciate. This is not about any particular words or concepts. Grow your awareness, not your thinking. Be love to all as often as possible. No more and no less. If you spent all your time being love to all, you would have less time for ego or causing harm elsewhere. You're getting a few random quotes, a couple photos. Weeds are flowers too, once you get to know them. Winnie the Pooh. Seth from the 1970s, a light being that I think in a way kicked off the whole New Age movement. I don't know. I was only like 4 or 3 at the time. The answers to the nature of reality, the intimate knowledge of all that is, that you all seek, is within your present experience, as you just said. It will not be found outside of yourselves, but through an inner journey into yourself, and through the world that you know. And I'll do a final one from him. The vitality of the universe is creativity and joy and love, and that is spirituality. A NASA astronaut once said, Story Musgrave, getting out of the comfortable path, that is exploration. And that's what exploration is all about. And lastly, 3 angels for you, and Plato, if I can squeeze them in. 2 blue balls of light. Plato is the one that's the tilted one. Charlotte's the blue one that's upright. What are you getting from these folks, from those quotes? And if you don't mind hearing something or having a dimensional wind come into the room, I'm going to blow and catch leaves from a temple cascading by.
Nice.
And which way did you get taken somewhere?
What I'm getting from that is whatever we believe or don't believe, you know, we're in this mortal coil, whether we like it or not. Hopefully, we realize that our purpose in life is to like it, to be comfortable in our own skin, to release what we're not. No one's to blame. But what happened is when we were very young, we got kind of caught early with a conditioning which everyone, rightly or wrongly, thinks is the right way to go. And they condition us to be everything but being and all about doing, generally speaking. So whether we like it or not, and whatever we believe, whether we are going to be born again, and that's totally open to one's own perception. I got no right or wrong views on that. Everyone's entitled to their views. But while we're in this mortal coil, I believe our purpose is to consciously evolve and to get back to the garden, if you like. That's the analogy, isn't it? And the way to do that is to wake up, is to wake up to the thoughts that are going on inside our head, the overthinking that's happening. Because once we do that, then we become the master of our thinking. And instead of going down the wrong route, down the quicksand, so frequently in our everydays that we're doing, being led astray, being manipulated by social media, by the news and everything else, which takes us as far away from ourselves as possibly can, our true self, we must come back. We must come back inside and we must start. So, you know, at least give it a try. At least give it a try. Have these direct experiences and see what happens for yourself. Don't trust anyone, including myself or these gurus, etc. It can only come from you. No one can give it to you. It must come from you as a result of direct experience. And you might just find that down the line, without you putting effort in, it will just happen. And that's what happened to me. And so many people that I know that have inspired me and taught me, it just falls off. And then you become everything that you are. You become this Buddha nature, which confuses people. But again, you can call that, the presence of God, if you like, or awakening or consciousness. You return to wholeness. You return to everything that you are. And you live your life from a sense of awakening, from a sense of vitality and longevity. Who wouldn't want that? You know, all the reasons why we might find in the traumatic times and everything else to not want to be around. Again, it's the mind that is doing all that. Let's get it out of the way, put it down to one side. It takes a microsecond, as Muji says. It really does. When you know how to do it, find how to start, find the right tools to use, and start now. Thank you, Michael.
Can we do a final exercise to see where it leads? And thank you for the homecoming reminder. I'll put up 2 photos to influence this, but if you don't mind just slowly with your finger either going in a spiral or a circle, you'll allow the universe to come in, but Muji will be one to influence and Thich Nhat Hanh the other. But what you're being asked for in the show is a mantra that you end up with that's unexpected, like spinning the twister wheel without the board around. And also perhaps a new mudra or something else. But if you don't mind just moving your hand in any fashion you want, and I'll put up Thich Nhat Hanh as a final thing. At some point, they're clicking into gear with you. They may have already started, but I'll still put up Thich Nhat Hanh's photo because it can't hurt to have a visual. Let him do his job. And if you want to see light coming off your hands, that's private to you. But if you could end up with a mudra that you say 3 times for us and anything else, if it's a hand, something beyond words, but I don't know what that is. And what'd you get?
So, Bud To. Bud To. Bud To. This is a mudra, a mantra. Sometimes even the breath is a mudra. A mantra that was given to me by a light that I walked past in a temple in Chiang Mai. He was there just making little adornments and stuff. He didn't say much. He just looked at me with his eyes that were just whoosh, whoosh. He gave me this and he said there are 3 levels and you must practice Butto. That's your mantra. He didn't explain why or anything. He didn't say, hi, what's your name? And all that stuff. He says, this is your mantra. This will get you to the next level in what you need to do for us all. Buddho, Budtho. That's the mantra. I practice it all the time. I share that with everyone with joy. And thank you again, Michael, for allowing me to do that.
Oh, I like that as an ending for the show. And Ian Matthews in South Korea, thank you very much for sharing and being so flexible and again, sharing the experiences and wisdom you've gained along the way.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll see you down the road.
Yes. Thank you.